paradise. I love you.
Hello, R users. My name is John Koulas. I am a 20-year professor of industrial and organizational psychology, about a 12-year user of R for normal, boring statistical applications. But for 9 or 10 of those 12 years, I've also been executing full projects, papers, reports, websites, books from within the same environment that I script and specify my R analyses. And so every week I hang out here for about an hour, and I'm just here promoting this kind of way of structuring your work. So don't think of your analytical platform as only to be used for that one very focused purpose of doing statistical analyses, but rather think of it as an environment within which you can execute an entire project. And so I do that. I think this is the way that if you're touching data in your day-to-day work, that this is the way that you should be structuring your work. There's all kinds of reasons for that. The primary one for me is it minimizes the consequences of error and just keeping everything in one spot. So we're here for, when I say we, occasionally I'm joined by some compatriots that use these same processes. We're using the metaphor of an academic office hour, and so if someone is interested in, how do I get started doing that, or why do you do that, or I'm thinking about doing it, but I'm not quite sure where to start, that's why we're here, and that's why this is live, and it's always going to be intended to be this interactive resource. We try to keep these to roughly an hour. Tonight, I think, will probably be well, every time I say that, it comes and bites me in the butt, so I'm not going to say it. But we try to keep this to about an hour. Last few weeks, I haven't been so great. We've been 15, 20 minutes over. We've also been, on these weekly Tuesday sessions, we've been climbing the alphabet in terms of topics to cover, because you can't just sit here and wait for someone to say, hey, how do I do that? So we've been just taking a look at kind of focused capabilities using these processes that we talk about. And this week we're on the letter V, so it's going to be a little bit of a revisiting of what we did not that long ago with holiday cards, but we're going to see if we can craft some Valentines using R. I think that'll be fun. And what else do I want to say? Oh, if you would like to promote this, a good way to do that is to like the video, and if you want to subscribe, then you can get notified when we go live. Usually every week. I've been putting out some other little cut-up things, but primarily it's just been this once a week live session that we do, and I enjoy putting these slides together for it. The slides are in the comments or the chat. And there's also a link to the slides in the description of the video. If you come across this and the chat's not yet populated or the comments, you can't see them, check out the description of the video, and there's a link to the slides, and there's a lot of resources in the slides. This week's slides you're going to want to probably access because I do have some sample code there that I think some of you might be interested in. And there's also, what else did I put in there? I also put in a link to a walkthrough, a tutorial on how to build a report. And that walkthrough, all you need is Quarto, so you're going to need the software that we've been talking about across the last couple of years now, actually, of doing this. We've been primarily relying on Quarto, which is an independent piece of software that you install on your computer. Okay, So before we get into Valentines, because we have this kind of open-ended, unscripted, just exploratory, hey, let's see what this feature looks like kind of approach that we take, at the beginning of each subsequent week, we'll do a recap of what happened last week and try to present that in a way that's a little more packaged for learning. So let's get our transition into what did happen last week.
Well, it looks like those two old buddies, Rocky and Bullwinkle, will never get together again. For Rocky is adrift in a life raft with Captain Peter Wrongway Peachfuzz,
Sailing eastward into the sunset.
Oh, boy.
while Bullwinkle Moose is miles away on the tiny island of New Greenport, talking to its king, Bushwick the 33rd.
The 33rd.
Oh, pardon, toity-toit. The king had just told Bullwinkle about the fabulous oogle bird, which lays only one egg a month. But what an egg that is. Each one contains a fortune that foretells the future. For instance, some years ago, an oogle egg said,
If you want to make some moolah, manufacture hoops that hula.
as a result, kids all over the world bought hula hoops stamped made in New Greenport. Another time, an oogle bird fortune read,
Make a flag and don't be late with 50 stars, not 48.
So when Alaska and Hawaii were given statehood, the happy citizens waved brand new flags marked Made in New Greenport. Of course, the oogle bird also gave out some other interesting predictions, too.
I was going to go shorter on those, but I didn't realize this was the oogle bird episode. And so I remember that from being a kid. I remember the oogle bird. So had to leave that one a little longer just so I could get my oogle quota in. Oogle bird quota in. So last week, again, for climbing the alphabet, last week we were on the letter U, and so I kind of cheated a little bit. So I said that we were taking a look at umlauts, Unicode, and uncials. Uncial is a type of calligraphy type font. Really, what we were looking at is how to get special characters within these types of products that we're producing, and in terms of umlauts. So umlauts you can specify, most people are going to want to specify them by the modern day IDEs or text editors that most people are going to use to craft these products. Something like RStudio or Positron or Jupyter Lab. They all have the capability now of recognizing these characters. And so this wasn't always the case. So it wasn't always the case that you could just find a vowel with those two dots over the top of it or any other diacritical mark. You couldn't just copy it and paste it into these plain text editors, but you can now. So they've evolved over the course of my 9 or 10 years of using them, where now you can mostly just copy and paste, but there may be occasions, and we're going to see one of those occasions I think tonight. There may be occasions where you're going to want to identify the computer code that's associated with that character as opposed to just copying and pasting the character itself. And so I put some hearts on there this week just because, we're talking about making Valentine's cards, and so I thought that was topical. But last week we were really interested in these types of characters, these alphabet type characters. And in addition to simply copying and pasting, you can also use their Unicode sequence of values. And the Unicode sequence of values are specified in this kind of in this pattern that we've seen with colors. So colors use something called a hexadecimal code, and the numbers and characters that you're seeing in these Unicodes are also hexadecimal, and that just simply means you can take values from 0 to 9 and then A to F. So that's 16 total characters. There are shortcuts to Unicode as well. So there's not only Unicode values for these characters that we might be interested in. And by the way, there's roughly 160,000 Unicode characters that are currently mapped to a code. There's over 1 million possible slots for characters, so we still have more opportunity for more characters to be specified. But currently, there's about 160,000 that are mapped. And so all of those 160,000, several of them have kind of shorthand codes as well, so not these full Unicodes, but and there's ways to actually utilize those as well. But if you just want to specify the Unicode value, what we do within the processes that we've been using to create HTML products and PDF products primarily. We didn't test it out with Microsoft products like a PowerPoint or a Word, but certainly the main two that we've been talking about, which are HTML and PDFs. This kind of HTML traditional specification works with these Unicode numbers. And so it's a sequence of what are called escape characters, and this just tells the plain text processor to, ooh, this is something unique, this is something specific. It's not an actual sequence of meaningful characters, it's not a word. And so the way that we communicate that is we do this ampersand hashtag X to start or to open, and then a semicolon to close. And so that sequence, the 3 at the beginning and then the 1 at the end, that sequence tells the processor that this is a Unicode value, and you should go and grab the character associated with it, and that's what I want to be displayed. I put a couple of different specifications on this first row to demonstrate a couple of things. So the Unicode value for the U with the, what do we call them, diareses, I think they're actually called, the 2 dots on top. The Unicode value for that is 00FC. Now, the way that we can specify that using this structure is 00FC, but I also wanted to communicate that the leading zeros on these codes you don't need to specify. And although R, as I'm sure everyone out there knows, R is case sensitive in terms of the scripting itself. So a lowercase f and a uppercase f are different. When we use these Unicode specifications, it's not case sensitive. So the capital F, capital C is going to render the same as a lowercase f and c. Similarly, I can either choose to include the full Unicode value, or I can exclude those leading zeros. There's one other thing I think I wanted to mention here with Unicode. Oh, yeah, the Unicode characters themselves, they can, a lot of them are gonna have this U plus when you come across them on a repository of Unicode values. But after that U plus, there's quite a bit of variability in terms of the number of characters that you have. And so here, this is a little more complex of an object. This is an object that probably got mapped more recently out of those 160 some objects or characters. And so there's actually 5 values within this Unicode specification for the Ace of Hearts card to be specified. But that works just fine within the same structure. So as long as I use the ampersand, hashtag /#, the letter X, and then follow up with a semicolon, all of that muck in between, as long as I use a Unicode value, then the rendered product is going to display the character itself. So this is the old way that we used to have to actually specify that we wanted to have these types of characters to be displayed. As I said, the modern IDEs are more forgiving in terms of allowing you to copy and paste directly the symbol, but there are going to be circumstances where you're going to want to know how to specify something by using a sequence of code, and this is a very slick, very reliable way to actually do it. So that's umlauts and Unicode values. Now, we also took a look at just introducing a different font, and so uncials, there's nothing really all that important, or there's nothing that really makes uncial font stand out from other font types, other than it started with the letter U, and since we're climbing the alphabet, I thought it was appropriate. But regarding fonts themselves, last week, this isn't the way that I usually specify fonts, but we went ahead and we made sure that we could have these fonts be rendered within PDF documents, within typist specified documents, and within HTML documents. And so it worked really well for PDF and typist both, as long as the font was installed locally on your machine. So this happens outside of R, this happens outside of Quarto. simply need to figure out how fonts should be installed on your machine. You can go out there, you can buy fonts. There's proprietary fonts. Everything that I've wanted to do with fonts, and even here, when you look at this screen here to the left of Mickey, I guess there's hyperlinks there, so I don't want to try to highlight them because it'll take me to a hyperlink page. But umlaut is one font, Unicode is another font, and Uncio is actually that Uncio font. So these are quite subtle, so they're not that, they don't really kind of stand out that much. Typically, I'll look for a font that does stand out for reflecting whatever kind of the sentiment is that I'm extracting from whatever the word is or the topic is that we're focused on. So I use fonts quite a bit, but I don't use them within PDFs. So the PDF and the typist specification, quickest, easiest way to do that is to just install the font on your local machine and then call it out within the YAML, the front matter of your Quarto specified document. Now, with PDFs, I was expecting a lot more of an issue. Quarto did a great job of finding the font that we installed last week. We found this on it was a Google font. So Uncio Antica was one that looked very similar to kind of what I had seen in terms of what Uncio font is supposed to be rendered like or look like. So found it from Google Font, installed it locally on my machine, and then the typist specification came out fine. The PDF that resulted from that reflected that Uncio script. Then we ran into an issue with PDF specifications, which I kind of was assuming we would, but there was a really easy workaround there. So traditionally the workaround would be we would need to actually install some packages, so use some additional explicit helper functions in the form of packages, LaTeX packages, but we didn't need to do that with Quarto. A different workaround that we had was we just specified the way in which the PDF is generated through that Lua LaTeX. So the Lua LaTeX specification was able to actually go on our local machine, find the Uncio font, and apply it to the PDF, which is actually really neat. So if you are interested in applying fonts to the entire document and you're doing a PDF, a traditional PDF, just keep in mind that there's a couple of different ways to overcome what upon first glance looks like it's not working. The easiest specification probably is to try a different engine. Quarto has on their help pages, I think they have 4 or 5 different options there. And so the Lua LaTeX was a really slick one. It worked really quickly, worked really well. Now the one caveat that I will say here is we did notice on, I forget if it was the typist or the PDF specification, we did notice that the Uncio font was not being applied uniformly across all of the document elements. So some of the headings that we had specified, a first level heading, second level heading, third level heading, some of those weren't seeming to reflect Uncio. Now that might be on my machine. It's possible that I don't have a bolded Uncio installation or an italicized. It could be lots of things. We didn't actually look into it, but that's something to be aware of. And again, there are different ways to specify that I want the words to be displayed in a particular font. This YAML main font option is just one, and probably the quickest and easiest one to actually use. The other thing, I guess, that I didn't know last week, but the local installation wasn't helpful for HTML, and that surprised me because everything I do using these processes, the easiest thing to do, the thing that throws the fewest errors is always HTML. HTML is just really tolerant of user kind of intolerance or user variance and user differences. So the HTML specifications are always the most forgiving. And so I was surprised that the HTML file, when we first tried it, didn't go and look for my locally installed Uncio font. Well, it turns out that PDF and HTML document types have different ways of interacting with something, like how the appearance of something is on a person's personal, the way in which a user is interacting with that product. So the HTML product types, they're reliant on the browser to actually go and find that, as opposed to the creator of the document. And so the creator of the document, that works with PDF and typist specifications. But with the HTML specification, you're going to want the person who's viewing the document to be properly set up. And so the way that I've been using fonts with these weekly slides is to use this import URL command within a CSS chunk. And you can copy this directly from what I have specified here in this week's slides, and that'll work just fine. And I have it, we'll come back to this because I also have this specification in one of the Valentines that I pre-prepared for this week. But so the CSS specification is probably the way that you wanna go if you're creating an HTML product. So you don't need it on your local machine. You just need to communicate that the browser, that whoever is reading it, that browser should go out and look for that font. And so this one, you may run into some additional issues with this if there's a really crazy font that you want to purchase and use, right? Because not everyone's going to have access to that. Google fonts work great. So, and there's so many of them out there. As long as the person who's viewing it has internet service, then they should be able to get that. So that's umlauts, Unicode, and uncials. This week, what I thought we would do is create some Valentine's cards, or Valentines. I don't know are those synonyms or not. Is a Valentine the same as a Valentine's card? I guess I'm not sure. Now, you know, I'm into cartoons, so I found some Valentines here that reminded me of, I don't know, 4th or 5th grade, which is the time of my life where I remember these being a thing. But we're going to see if we can actually create some Valentines using these literate programming principles. And when I say literate programming, that's a phrase that we took from Donald Knuth, a computer scientist who proposed this way of structuring computer programs such that they're easier to read. We've taken those principles and we've applied them to a way of structuring work such that if you're doing analyses, why not also do your prose or your word writing within the same environment that you're doing your analyses? Okay, so we'll see if we can create some Valentines. Now, what I didn't want to do, because we did something very, very similar not that long ago, and I like to do different things on these weekly sessions. So what we did not that long ago is we created holiday cards, so Christmas cards, Hanukkah cards, just seasons, greetings types cards. And I liked the way that turned out. So what I did was I created a card that's quite similar to that. And there's a link in here. I changed a couple of things. So the first thing that you'll notice that I changed was the holiday card had falling snowflakes on it. And so we changed those to falling hearts. And then there is, again, speaking of fonts, there is some kind of fancy scripting fonts that's specified here. There's a background that's specified, so that I chose that color. It's a little pastel pink. And then there's a ggplot, but that ggplot has some animation to it as well. So there's two packages being used there, GGA Animate and ggplot. Now, because we're coming straight from Unicode into Valentines, one of the things I did was I put some Unicode values in this ggplot. I think I lost my mouse. So you can see those here on the x-axis with the X label and the y-axis with the O label. And you can also see it in the heart that's being rendered. Those 3 hearts prior to the va-va-voom and the 3 hearts after, those are specified with Unicode values. So let's see if I can back out of this. That entire Valentine, the specification of that, you can copy it with this code chunk here. So that Valentine is this left-hand bit of code. It's 67 lines. You can see the Unicode specifications here. They're a little bit different in ggplot than they would be if I was trying to render this outside of a code chunk. So I'm not sure if ggplot, if you can paste those special characters in or not, but I used Unicode values since we just came straight from Unicode. There is in here if you want to use it, if you want to take it and apply it. If you want to use a different fancy script than the one that I used at the top of the second slide there, you'll want to specify it here, but then also on line 17, which is exactly what we did last week. It's just this import URL specification at the very end of it. It says dancing script. If you're interested in a different Google font, you just change the name of that. And then what else did I do here? I guess if you don't like the hearts that I have, so I'm using the snow extension that we used for the holiday cards, but I swapped out within this QMD specification, I swapped out the images that are used to render the falling snowflakes. I just put some heart images in there, and so there's 6 of them. And so if you don't like mine, you can go ahead and put in different images if you want, but that's pretty much it. There's not a ton of specification there. The GG animate plot that we're doing here, it's specified by this person per LaTeX. So I took his or her script specification here on a GitHub repo, and I just changed a little bit. This person has some look like Chinese or Japanese or Asian, certainly, characters that are copied and pasted kind of ironically. So ggplot maybe does take those copies and pastes. Or it does accept those pasted renderings of the special characters, it looks like. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together to think about that. But that's one Valentine that you can use if you're interested. And if we have a little time tonight, I'll walk you through exactly how to set up a project such that you can use it. Again, if you've been following us here on these weekly sessions, you're probably familiar with setting up a project folder and then installing an extension. This is the extension that you want. You leave the extension alone, and the snow gets swapped out for hearts within the QMD specification itself. And I did one extra thing there that I guess I can. I did one little extra thing on my Valentine. So I did blow up the size of these hearts a little bit. So yours are, if you just follow exactly what I've done, your falling hearts aren't going to be as large as mine are. If you're interested in doing that, just drop me a note and I can walk you through that. Or if we have a little extra time tonight, maybe I'll walk you through how to do that. That's a little deeper than just this specification itself. So anyway, that's one Valentine's card. What I thought might be kind of fun to be a little different from what we did with the Christmas card is I thought we could use, let's see if we can find it. There's this package called G-Girl. Now, that's very Valentine's-ish, right? So girl, boy, girl. G-Girl. So G-Girl allows you to, it stands for GG in real life. So GG in real life it facilitates the creation of a postcard. And now, there's nothing more romantic, if we're talking about Valentine's, than a sternly worded postcard, I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm guessing that's very romantic. So it's going to be different. So what I'd like to try tonight is I would like to try to make a Valentine's Day relevant ggplot, or we should be able to do it with a base plot as well. So a ggplot, and then see if we can actually use this package to mail the ggplot as a postcard. Now, this package that I stumbled across it's last been discussed, as far as I can tell, in 2021. So it's about 5 years old. There's a bunch of dependencies on this. I haven't tried it. I have no idea if it's going to work, if it's still supported, if everything needed in order for this to actually run works. I also don't know. I have no idea if there's any sort of security issues on this, but I fully intend to try this. So we're gonna see if we can try this. And I have my wallet that I intentionally took out here and put next to me today, because I'm gonna see if I can put in some information and actually pay for it and send a postcard. But I also made sure to look deeply and see if I can find a prepaid kind of debit card that I got as a gift, because I'm a little worried about the security on this. But I'm also thinking that it's probably 50-50 that it's even still active and working, so we'll see. So if we get a nice image, then I'm actually going to put it on a postcard, because as we said, a postcard is the most romantic thing you can possibly do to someone. I'm going to put it on a postcard and then see if I can send it. So what I have in terms of hyperlinks on this slide that you're looking at now is I have some options that I found in terms of other people creating objects that look interesting. And it's fun. A lot of people are using kind of mathematical equations to define basically the perimeter of an object, and then that object itself they just choose to include it in a plot. Now this one, this is just a base plot. I haven't tried these, so we're gonna try them together. And again, the GG in real life, the documentation on that is very specific to GG plots. But as I'm looking through it and just kind of trying to project what this is gonna end up looking like in terms of working through it, to me it doesn't seem as though it needs to be a GG plot. It looks to me like it can be just any sort of plot. So let's go ahead and open up a script file and see if we can look at that. All right, that's pretty cool. 6 lines of code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we actually get something that looks pretty cool already. I kind of like it just like that. Huh, look at that. Now, we might want some text on there, so we could put text on there. It looks like character 169 is already mapped. Now, I mentioned when we were talking about Unicode that there are shortcuts and shorthand notations for different purposes, for different applications, for some of those Unicode characters. The R is using some of these as well. So if any of you remember very early on when you're doing base plots, this PCH argument, the values that it can take, I had no idea it could take this many values, but the values that it can take are gonna reflect different points. And so there's a dot, there's a X, there's a dash, there's all kinds of different ones that you see in base plots. I had no idea that a heart was even possible. But let's see if we can color it. Who did this? I mean, whoever submitted this, great job. IRTFM. Now, IRT means something very specific to people in my field. So I already like that person. And then we'll see if we can add these. And I guess before we do that 169, we'll just do different character. Yeah, there's an X. Now, the way that these base plots work, I'm going to want to re-specify the entire script that we have here, because if I put a different character on there, it should just overplot. That is, it's not going to get rid of the X's, it's just going to build over the X's, and so it's going to start to look kind of funny. There we go. It looks like a mess right now, but we'll go ahead and we'll rerun the whole thing. There we go. I actually kind of like that. I kind of like that. Let's see if we can do a ggplot as well. So I also, on this week's slides, I have, well, on this link itself, I think there are some other options. There's a different heart, a little, there's a good effort. There's a good effort. The background on these is kind of cool. It's like a spider plot kind of thing. There's an ASCII type heart. I don't know. This kind of stuff is fun. This topic itself, this page, it looks like this was answered, I think I saw 14 years ago. Yeah, 14 years, 3 months ago. So it's amazing what people were doing even early on with just kind of getting creative with this and forcing yourself to kind of stretching your skills a little bit. And I guess that's why we're doing what we do as well. This is a function that someone created, again, outside of ggplot. I guess I don't know why. Why did I save that one? There's ggirl. We know we're going to need that. What else do I have? I thought I had some more on here. Oh, equations of love. So these are all, I guess, possible visuals that we can use. Didn't we just, I think we saw this on a Stack Exchange. And again, these look like probably mathematicians who are putting together equations. Well, that doesn't look very Valentine's. Okay, so let's, I guess we can probably, we don't have a ggplot. Let's see if we can get a ggplot. Ggplot heart. I'm still working on my audio as well. Ooh, look at this one. Still working on my audio a little bit, so hopefully it's okay. Now, this definitely looks like a ggplot. See how bad they animated it as well. That animation is kind of fun. Code. Well, there's quite a bit in here. They annotated this really, really well. Here's our ggplot. And saving it as a PNG. So I'm just gonna, I don't think we need to animate it, so I'm going to, well actually if we're gonna send the most romantic postcard, we don't want to animate it. Let's leave this just in case we want to come back to it. The other thing I didn't realize, I guess, I didn't know hot pink was a semantic color type that you could use within R. Kind of cool. Now, I don't think we need to save our PNG, so I'm gonna comment that out as well. This, all we really want is we want this P object. And they're setting seed. It's always interesting to see what numbers people use when they set their seed. So this is probably, oh, February 14th of the year 2015. I'm guessing that's what that is. And so what this will do is this will give us the same as what we saw on that page. Well, there's quite a bit here, isn't there? Yeesh. So we shouldn't need animation. Just want to make sure I have all these packages prior. And again, so one of the possibilities that we're going to run into here with this 2015 package is the commands themselves are going to potentially break. So there's going to be different. You see this all the time with R. You see depreciated functions. So substitute Q was probably in that prior package. Let's see if we can find it. It is in prior. Now, prior is not something that R was really wanting me to install. I didn't see it. I didn't see it listed as something that's. Yeah, it might just be too old. So, we could play with that, I guess, or we could try to figure out how to bypass that function, or we could just look for a different plot. This looks like the same one. Again, that animation's pretty cool. Here's a Twitter one. There's just putting that character on again instead of a dot or an X. I'm not seeing it. I'm a little disappointed. And really what I'd like to see here is I'd just like to see if we can get a ggplot object. You know, I think the one I have in this week's card might be the most interesting one. So if this doesn't come through, we might go and grab that one. And I'll just take the animation off of it. But I would like to get to the point of actually sending this to myself. I think I'm going to send it to me so I can show you if it shows up. Head, tail, okay, I got that. I don't think I have ggplot loaded. All right. So we have, I mean, it's not all that interesting. We could add a little, maybe we should add a little something to it there. Let's add some text maybe to it so we can at least say Merry Christmas. What are we saying? Happy Valentines. I'm going to steal a little bit of my script here just for the geom text element. Maybe we'll still say ba ba boom. I kind of like that ba ba boom. Ba ba boom. Ba ba boom. ggplot, if you're not familiar with it, I don't know if they still do or not, but they when you're structuring and stacking a ggplot object like this, the plus sign should be on. Plus sign should be above the added stuff itself. I don't know what the data command is doing there. I don't know why that didn't show up on the object. And geom text, color, white O 00. Now, X and Y look like they're okay. I mean, if these numbers are accurate as well, maybe we'll blow up the size a little bit. Oh, there we go. Okay. It was just that I was kind of a rookie mistake there. It was assigning a plot to an object. Assigning a plot to an object, but it wasn't. I wasn't asking for the object itself. So if we want to do this, we're gonna have to go pretty small. That looks okay. I guess we can go a little bit bigger. Let's go a little bit bigger. Once that does blow up. And then I'm gonna get rid of, let's get rid of our hot pink one. I did like that, that was kind of nice, but we're gonna send this one. When I say we, I mean me. I'm gonna send it to me. I do like that font a little bit bigger. Nice. That looks like about the same. I wonder, you know, the script specification looked a little different to me, but that heart itself looks the same. So I wonder if someone kind of borrowed from someone else, kind of like what we're doing right now, in terms of the specification itself. Okay, so let's see. So this is the real sticker here. Is we're gonna see if we can, mail a postcard. And so G girl. Let's see if it's on crayon. I'm guessing it's not on crayon. You see my environment is now loaded because we've gone through and done these specifications kind of slowly and one at a time. So I'm going to see if I can install ggirl. Not likely. Oh, let's do one extra. I got to get my quota in here. You know, it's not a fun thing to do, and I don't know if that has any impact whatsoever on what we're doing. So I usually get 30 or so views a week. I'm guessing, I don't know if people are watching these all the way through. I'm guessing probably not. But the liking and subscribing stuff, I think that's probably more meaningful to people that have not 30, but many more than 30. I don't know that 3 likes versus 2 likes is going to have a lot big of a difference in terms of getting out there. But if we do talk about, trying to promote this, and I do think promoting this is important. This is kind of the hill that I've chosen to die on with kind of my field, is I think this is the way that people who are trained in the area that I've been trained, I think this is the way that they should be structuring their work. Well, the GitHub repo is still up, so that's good. This isn't, so this can sometimes be kind of a time suck, but we'll see how it goes. See if I have anything to share with you here while we do the time suck. See if I give you something that we haven't seen for a while. Oh geez, now I can't scroll. What's going on? This is really odd. StreamYard. All right, I'm not well, we have ggirl, or we have ggirl, so. Oh, we don't have ggirl. What happened here? It says it's done with ggirl. I did get a permission denied. maybe we'll do it. Let's do a refresh just to make sure here. So let me save this script as awesome Valentine. I'm going to close out of R. See if I can come back in. And then maybe we'll do a question. We might have to ask AI if G-girl is still something that is going to be viable to actually use. Within my R Studio, I should be able to go to kind of recent files and find that and reconstruct it. Va-va-va-boom. Oh, I only have 2 va-vas. I think I wanted 3 va-vas. See if G-girl was in here. Okay, it is in there. So, I don't know, we'll see if some of those other dependencies are going to give us a problem. Again, this is one of the issues with using older packages, older processes. But the way it's supposed to work, and you're seeing this for the first time just like me, is we have our ggplot object. It's already created. It's called heart. That should be fine. Like I said, I believe we could do, as long as we saved the plot as an object, we could do it as well. Now that might be the reason she's doing ggplot, is the plot, the base plots themselves aren't just simple objects, they're complex objects. So, although ggplot is a complex object as well. It's a heart, it's a list. So here you see that the heart specification is actually a list of 11 separate, complex themselves objects. Okay, so let's load it. Crying out loud. Sorry, hope I'm not making anyone seasick. I'm just trying to be able to see both screens here. So we'll see if we can load the library. And that's our first potential fail. And then there's a bunch of fields here that I think, let's just copy them, and there's no point of me specifying kind of my address and stuff if this isn't going to work. So we'll see, again, that the message is going to work, the address is going to work, because those are just simple objects. Those mean nothing. Although address, I didn't know there's an address function. That might be in G-girl. Now this is what might fail, might not work, because this is definitely a function within G-girl. Did something. It's thinking. Aww. Yeah, it doesn't like, so it doesn't want to transfer over the image. It looks like it's trying to make a PNG, but it doesn't want to make a PNG. Let me, let's do this. Let's see if we can do this within a project directory and be a little more clean. It's possible that it just doesn't like that. Kind of the location of it, where it is. And honestly, I'm not going to be all that disappointed if we don't get to mail a postcard, because even though I say a postcard is the most romantic of all possible Valentines, it probably isn't. If some of you were to follow my recommendations here, you might be sleeping on the couch. I'm guessing. Could happen. Okay, and just let me make sure. Oh, plot. So that was a mistake. I didn't want to say plot, I wanted to say heart. So that could have been our issue. That actually could have been our issue. So let's run our plot again. Old Kulas wasn't paying close attention. And we'll run our G-girl. We will come back and correct this later. And actually, I'm not sure what it's supposed to do. Probably should have read that. You can include multiple recipients. This will pop up a web page showing you what the order will look like. Now this is, again, this is the kind of back-end stuff that might not work. Yeah, I think we're gonna, this is I think this is probably a kind of quirky kind of thing that someone did to prove kind of proof of concept, but probably hasn't continued to support. Plot upload failed. So there is an error message that's built in here that says probably the person that created it, you can actually contact her. Let's just do a quick, see maybe if there's something a little too elaborate in my plot specification. I'm guessing not. We can take out the text. I don't know why that would have any, I don't know why that would do anything, but it's possible that it did. Yeah. See, I think so the plot upload failed message appears when the package tries to upload your object to its back-end server, which handles rendering, payment processing, previewing, and order. And this is the kind of thing that, 5 years ago might have been set up, but if I set this up, I wouldn't continue supporting it for 5 years. Yeah, the service is no longer active. I'm guessing that that's actually what it is as well. Here's the repo. I guess we didn't look at it. We can see how active it's been. So there's been nothing here for 3 years. So we're not going to be able to mail the postcard. So we could certainly share it. You can post it. You can host it. Let's go back to my kind of backup one. I was very curious to see if that was still being supported, if we'd be able to use and actually mail physically a postcard. Would have been kind of cool, but does anyone, do people even still know what a postcard is? It's just not something that is done all that frequently. So I'm going to walk you through how to actually use mine. So we have this project folder set up. I am going to, from within this project folder, I'm going to install the extension that makes snow, and that's hyperlinked here. And I'm going to copy the Quarto install command. I'm going to paste that into my terminal. This isn't a R command, this is a Quarto command, so you're going to do it at the terminal. And what I'm looking for here on my left or right hand pane is I'm looking for an underscore extensions folder to show up. Now I already have this loaded on a couple of different project folders, but I'll probably go in and delete it later. So there's my extensions folder. Now I'm going to ask for a new Quarto document. I just want an empty one. I'm not going to use any of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the code that I have in this week's slides, and I'm just going to paste that in. So I have Quarto on my machine. I have the Snow extension located within my project folder. And let's see if this works. Should work. I made it. I don't know that I tested it out. Actually, I ran it on my machine, but this is a brand new, fresh project, and there is some animation here, so it's going to take a little time in terms of the first rendering. I think I put a cache on that chunk. I probably took it off for you good people, but on my local machine I did a little bit of work to make it a little less annoying. So there it is. And then again, you could host this if you want, or you could just share this with someone. The other thing I did, oh, by the way, if you want to change sappy sentiment, that's simply here. You say goo goo gaga, The background color, that's the pink that I have there. So if you want to change that to, what do we have, hot pink? Hot pink is it color? I don't know if that's going to actually work. Let's do a hexadecimal code for hot pink. I don't know that that's going to be all that noticeably different than the pastel pink that we have, but it'll say goo goo gaga. And then, you know, if you want to change the whatever is said within the heart itself, that's here on line 62. You can change that. The image, I don't have a title slide on this because I wanted the title slide to be the entire Ralph Wiggum kind of that own Valentine card itself. So you can swap that out for any image that you want. Let's look for a different sappy, Snoopy Valentine. And we'll just, I don't know, we can take any one of these, I guess. We'll just take this one, copy that, and I can put that and replace that here. So, you know, this is how you can, that looks like it might be an invalid URL, we'll see. But these are all the customizations that you can do with the code that I've given you. And then I'll show you one last modification, which is the size of those falling hearts. Again, if you want to change the characters themselves, it's these PNG, mostly PNG. I think there might be an SVG or an unspecified on some of them. But if you want to see what these are, you can actually just, you can also just take these URLs, paste them, you know, paste them into a browser, and it'll show you what that image is. Okay, so there's Snoopy. Actually, I kind of like Snoopy better than Ralph Wiggum, I think. And then there's the hot pink. It looks like there's a little bit of delay on my ggplot itself, on the animated ggplot in terms of being loading. So let me show you how to change the size of those falling hearts if you want. And again, this is a little more under the hood, but within the extensions folder that you just that you just loaded, there is in the assets folder, so as deep as possible within the underscore extensions folder, there's a JavaScript file. Now you can open that in RStudio or any editor. It's just a wall of text. It looks very intimidating. It's a massive wall of text. But somewhere toward the bottom here, there's a min and max size. So here we go. Min size. See if I can find it again now. But all you need to do to alter the size of those flakes is to alter the min and the max. Let me see if I can find min. Wait, it's there's so much color on this that it's actually kind of difficult to, oh, there's also opacity. So if you wanted to change, I don't know, if you spend a little time looking at the falling, spend a little time looking at the falling objects, you'll notice that some of them are more transparent and some of them are less transparent. So that's a variable as well. Min size and max size are right here. I don't know if I can make that a little easier to see. How can I make that easier to see? I'll just try to isolate them a little bit. Oh, now I lost it. Min size and max size are toward the bottom. It looks like I'm at the very, very bottom of the script here, so it looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, about 20 lines up or so in a moderately sized window. So you can make these uniform if you want. You can make them large if you want. I bumped mine up to like 16 to 40 or something. If you want to make them all the same size, you can do that. You can see you have an opacity command here as well if you want to make them all transparent or all opaque. I'll bump these up 20 on the small end to, let's see if it does 75. Now 75 should be huge. I'm not sure that that's even going to be a permissible value, but we'll try it. And so those are the two parameters to play with if you want to change the size of your falling snowflakes. Or if you just want to send one of the two hearts that we made, although I guess I didn't share that code, but you can follow the sequence that we just followed if you want to make hearts different than the one that we have on this shared project here. So this is how you make them bigger. I don't think I think the 75 was probably ridiculous and maxed out. So it doesn't look to me like it's going to 75. Those are probably pixels in terms of unit. But certainly they're a lot bigger. And so those two parameters, if you want to alter them, change them, you can. And again, the sharing of this is quite easy. You can just follow the publish icon here from within RStudio, and it'll walk you through a few different options in terms of sharing that out. If you want to send someone a nice Snoopy-based falling heart Valentine. Okay, thanks everybody. I'm kind of not so disappointed that I didn't have to put my credit card through what was likely to be a questionable, dubious kind of secure site. So, although I am a little bummed that it's not out there in an option. You know, I wonder if someone probably has come up with something similar to kind of take its place. But G-Girl looks like is not going to be a postcard option for us into the future. Oh, that's too bad. So next week we'll be on to the letter W. I was kind of thinking this morning about maybe doing watermarks. I haven't done a watermark on a document for a while, but I used to specify watermarks on old R markdown reports. And so that might be kind of fun to revisit. So unless someone drops me a note and says, no, I want to do this thing instead, next week might very well be watermarks. Okay, so happy Valentine's Day, everybody. One last time here for me to get my quota. Thanks for showing up. Good to see you, and see you hopefully next week.